Have you ever found yourself completely lost in thought, just creating a vivid, entirely fake scenario in your head? You're pacing your room, maybe staring blankly out a window, completely immersed in this alternate reality. It's this highly secretive habit that almost all of us share, but we literally never talk about it. Well, today in this explainer, we're unpacking the fascinating, kinda hidden psychology behind why your brain is absolutely addicted to doing exactly this.
Let me ask you this directly. How many times have you caught yourself intensely rehearsing a conversation for a situation that hasn't even happened yet? Or, okay, better yet, how many times have you been standing in the shower, absolutely dominating and winning an argument that never actually took place? You can literally feel the adrenaline pulsing, right? Your heart beats just a little faster. You finally hit them with that absolute perfect, devastating comeback that you really wish you'd thought of 3 days ago. If you're nodding your head right now, or maybe feeling just a little bit called out, don't worry, you are definitely not alone.
Now, you might feel like you're just daydreaming, or maybe you judge yourself, thinking it's kind of childish, or pointless, or just a massive waste of time. But cognitive psychology shows us something entirely different. Creating these fake scenarios, it's not random at all. It is actually a highly complex evolutionary mental pattern. I mean, think about it. Early humans didn't survive by just waiting around to see what the tiger would do. They survived by anticipating it. So this habit is actually shaped by your intelligence, your deeply ingrained evolutionary need for safety, and your brain's totally unique way of modeling the complex social world around you.
Okay, let's dive right into this with part 1, the engine behind it all, mental forecasting.
So the very first reason your brain does this is simply because it's naturally predictive. Psychologists call this mental simulation. It's kind of like your brain's ability to run internal software updates. Instead of just passively waiting for life to happen to you, your predictive mind is actively rehearsing life in advance. Imagine you've got a really difficult conversation coming up. Maybe you're asking your boss for a raise or sending a super risky text to someone you're dating. You don't just send it, right? You simulate their response and then your response to their response. You're doing this to prepare for the future and, crucially, to avoid making mistakes. You aren't just overthinking things, you are actually performing the complex, highly demanding work of forecasting.
Inside your head, your brain is essentially acting like this hyper-vigilant stage director. It's constantly pacing the stage, asking, wait, what if this goes wrong? Or what exactly would I say if they hit me with this specific counter-argument? Your brain is mapping out these massive, honestly exhausting decision trees. It calculates probabilities, playing out path A, path B, and path C, burning an incredible amount of cognitive energy in the process. And it's doing all of this heavy lifting to ensure that you are never, ever caught off guard by reality. But this constant preparation actually points to a deeper, more fundamental desire.
Which brings us to part 2, the illusion of control.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between our two realities. Because real-life outcomes are messy. They are incredibly uncertain, and honestly, sometimes they're downright shocking. And to our primitive brain, uncertainty literally equals danger. The shock of the unknown instantly triggers our stress responses. But on your internal stage, you have total, absolute control. You dictate exactly what you say, you decide precisely how the other person reacts, and you write the absolutely perfect ending to the story. This creates a deeply powerful sense of psychological safety. By rehearsing things in advance, your brain dramatically reduces the terror of the unknown, effectively turning this chaotic, unpredictable world into an environment that feels highly manageable. But relying on this safe haven definitely comes with a significant catch.
That leads us right into part 3, the emotional reward loop.
Here is a seriously startling psychological fact for you. Your brain does not fully distinguish between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. To your neural pathways, the line between reality and deep imagination is, it's incredibly thin. When you visualize a stressful scenario, your amygdala, that's the brain's fear center, lights up exactly as if the event were unfolding right in front of you. It completely floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline, and that is exactly why you feel your heart rate rapidly increase, your breathing gets a little shallow, or your palms start sweating during a totally imaginary argument. Your physical body is fighting a very real physiological battle against a threat that exists entirely in your mind.
So let's walk through exactly how this loop traps you in real time. Step 1. You imagine the fake scenario. Let's say you picture yourself finally standing up to that rude coworker. Step 2. Because your brain blurs the lines, you feel the real emotion. You feel the genuine flush of anger, followed by that intoxicating relief and pride of finally putting them in their place. And then comes step 3. Because these imagined situations trigger a massive release of dopamine and other neurochemicals, your brain actually begins to intensely crave these internal wins. It creates this addictive loop where your mind keeps generating more and more fake, adversarial situations simply to chase that real emotional hit of victory. even though, you literally haven't left your couch. So why else do we do this? Because it's not just about predicting the future.
That brings us to part 4, closing open loops.
You see, reality is incredibly flawed, and it constantly leaves us with these open loops. We're talking about conversations that got interrupted, sudden breakups that lacked any real ending, or those lingering words we desperately wish we had said. Psychologists actually call our obsession with these unfinished items the Zeigarnik effect. Basically, it's our brain's tendency to remember interrupted or incomplete events way better than completed ones. Think about that one random argument you had like 5 years ago that still pops into your head at 2 a.m. Because your brain craves coherence and justice, it uses your imagination to finally find some closure. It practically forces you to finish those open emotional loops on the internal stage. To your subconscious, completing the scenario isn't fake at all. It's a vital psychological tool for resolving cognitive dissonance. It allows you to finally mentally file away a situation where reality frustratingly left you hanging. Now, you might be wondering who is most prone to doing this.
Let's look at part 5, internal processing over action.
If you find yourself constantly creating these scenarios, it is highly likely you share the trait of being an internal processor. Let's contrast this for a second. An external processor needs to talk things out, right? They learn through trial and error, taking messy, immediate action out there in the real world. But you prefer to learn by imagining. You process life entirely internally before taking a single physical step. Picture yourself at a networking event. To anyone watching, you might appear quiet, reserved, or maybe a bit slow to jump into the conversation. But beneath the surface, your mind is racing. You have already silently lived through a dozen different versions of an interaction, mapping out exactly how an introduction is going to land. So when you finally do make a move and speak up in the real world, your actions are incredibly calculated and flawlessly intentional because you've already practiced. But how do we keep this from taking over our lives? Here is part 6, stepping out of the simulation.
At the end of the day, imagining fake scenarios is ultimately a sign that your mind prepares deeply and that your intelligence works internally. It really is your brain's secret survival mode, perfectly designed to protect your emotions and sharpen your real-world reactions. But here is the absolutely critical takeaway from this explainer. The healthiest minds know exactly when to stop rehearsing and start experiencing. To step off that internal stage, you have to actively break the simulation. Psychologists highly recommend using physical grounding techniques when you catch yourself spiraling, literally focusing on the physical feeling of your feet flat on the floor, or out loud naming 3 objects you can see around you right now. Doing this forces your brain out of the imagined future and violently yanks it right back into the physical present. Once you understand this hidden pattern of how your mind works, you gain the power to control it. You can recognize the rehearsal, pause the simulation, and consciously choose to step back into reality.
So I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to really reflect on today. Ask yourself honestly, do you create these scenarios because you genuinely enjoy the rich, creative imagination of it all? Or did your mind simply never learn how to stop preparing? Think deeply about that. Because the real world, as messy and uncertain as it absolutely is waiting for you to actually live it. Thanks for watching.